to Scott Davies! There is to be late drama.
As you said earlier on, the Torquay game, you were gambling on the bus on the way there. How did that start? How did the gambling start, and then how did it sort of develop into a situation that became uncontrollable?
Yeah, so it was difficult. I used to do it before I joined Aldershot, and then when I got to Aldershot, there was a card school, which there is on most buses. So to try and make friends was the easiest way to do that. Was join the back of the bus and jump on, get to know the lads, and sort of play poker and whatnot. I was the young, inexperienced apprentice when it came to card games. I didn't really know the rules of the game, and little did I know that I was going to be terrible at it. So I ended up sort of departing with quite a lot of cash at times, more than I could afford. My parents had to pay some of the debts, but it was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't a case of someone else was doing it, so I followed the group. I wanted to be a part of it, and it wasn't something that was a healthy thing for me. And then it developed into a bit of a problem. And then in the latter days, it turned into an addiction. I sort of found myself finishing training and going to the bookmakers every single day. I'd go to the casino till late at night by myself, bet on world sports on my phone throughout the night without sleeping, and then going straight back to training. So it just became a real habit and a routine that I couldn't break. Obviously ended up spending close to £250,000 over the next sort of 9 years doing it. But it's something that I've learned from. I haven't had a bet now for almost 5.5 years. And I'm obviously helping players going around the country, telling my story, hoping that they don't make the same mistakes as I did, because I do firmly believe that if I took gambling out of my life at the age of sort of 18, 19, when things were going well, I would have been able to focus solely on football. And I think that I would have gone on to have a much better career, because I didn't dedicate myself half as much as I needed to have done back then, because my life was completely taken over by the thoughts of gambling. Every single day that I would finish training, I would rush to get out of there to go and place bets. And I look back and I could beat myself up 1,000 times. But it's like you say, I can't stare back too much and look back too much, because I'll never be able to move forward if that's the case. And it's like you say, I'm still here to tell the tale, and just thankful for the job that I've got now.
We'll talk about that job in detail in a few minutes' time. But just to think on that, I mean, I must have interviewed you countless times when you were at Aldershot in your 3 different spells. And I would never have had any inclination that you were, you having that sort of inner turmoil of what became an addiction. I would never ever have known that until I read about it, a few years later. And would that be the case with your colleagues and your management and that? Would they have all been in the same situation, not really being aware of how serious it was?
Some of them would have known, because I won't obviously name players, but I went with to the bookmakers with quite a lot of the squad at the time. There was a bit of a culture that we were so close knit, and we were like a band of brothers that we did everything together. We'd go and socialise, we'd go down the pub, we'd go to the snooker hall in Farnborough, go to the William Hill around the corner. But the difference is that it became a real problem for me when I was rewarded with my new contracts. So my first year at Aldershot, I was only on £400 a week. And because that first season went so well, I went back to Reading and they gave me £2,000 a week at the age of 19, 20. So they gave me that with quite a large signing on fee, and it just catapulted my spending in the betting shop. I started betting rather than sort of £10 and £20. I started betting £500 and £1,000. So it's just the disposable income that I did have was quickly going. And it's like you say, I hid it really well from a lot of people. I didn't really want people to know that I was struggling, and to try and mask that and put this brave face on. The way that I would do that is by acting the loudest in the changing room to pretend that I didn't have a problem. I'd always be the first one that you could hear. If you're walking down the corridor, I'm sure people would hear me in the changing room, because that's the kind of person I was. And to show a sign of weakness back then was just something you didn't do. I didn't really want to tell people like Gary and Cooley that I had an issue as well, because I did think to myself that if you tell the manager that you're struggling outside of football, is he going to pick you on a Saturday when you're desperate to play? They want players that are completely focused on the task ahead. So for me, it was something that I just bottled up and got on with. But my time at Aldershot, it's like you say, to sort of think of, I guess, of how well the team did and I did personally, individually, whilst going through a lot of heartache and trouble on and off the pitch with different things. It's quite astounding, I guess.
And that's right, because you've had your first season successful. You've gone back to Reading, but they liked you so much at Aldershot. Then you come back for a second loan spell for the season under Gary, and you made your Football League debut in the August of 2008, Bradford City, and you score another worldie.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, I'm sat here and you're obviously going through all this now, and I know all the answers to what you're saying and what you're about to say next. And I just think of so many times where I'm so appreciative of what the football club gave me. Obviously, I had to put it into practice on the pitch, but you can't put a price on it. And I know it's so cliche, but I sometimes watch the video that Dean put together for me, and I sit there and I just think to myself, like, how special is that? Like, I can't wait to show my kids when I have kids one day. I can't wait to show my grandkids, because it's all there and it's evident. So Bradford was a weird one. I was just coming back from the injury that the operation that I'd had on the day of the Exeter game. So I'd been out for, I think, 5.5 months. It was, in terms of, it was quite a long time. I know that much. I don't know how long exactly, but I remember sort of coming on and the manager just saying, listen, try and make an impact, get yourself a goal. And the ball dropped loose and I just walloped it as hard as I could, and off it went into the net. I think, obviously, I don't know if Dean was videoing that day, but he struggled to keep up with it. I hit it that hard. I think it's still the hardest I've ever hit a ball. So yeah, it was really special. And it's like you say, I think that you can do all the hard work in the National League, but then people look at League Two and think, do you know what, you're doing it in like a real big game now in terms of being in the man's game, doing it in the Football League. And for me, it was special yet again.
And there was a season where the club stabilised in the Football League. The first half, especially, was a really decent season. We had some good victories. Beat Gillingham where you scored. I can remember a late winner after Gillingham had equalised. A fascinating game against Bury when we're 3-0 down. He scored a penalty, made it to 3-3. And just some real great games. And stats here say he scored 14 goals in that season. So you actually really, if you look at it, your second season at Aldershot was probably better than your first.
Yeah, I joke around now to a lot of the people that I speak to, and I said, I don't know a 20-year-old I'd been 20 at the time, scoring 14 goals in midfield in League Two. You probably get bought for a couple of £1 million now. I said, I think I played too soon. I've seen players that have done it and been bought for quite a large sum of money. But like you say, I was still attached to Reading, so there wasn't an opportunity to go anywhere else. I was only going to go back to Reading and try and forge a career there. But that season in League Two was a really strange one because I felt as though we competed in every game. I don't think we ever really got a good hiding by one of the big boys or anything like that. But what we didn't do was turn sort of the games where they were on a knife edge, could have gone either way. We didn't really turn them into victories like we did when we were in the National League. And I think that's the difference between the two leagues. I felt as though in the National League, we played some great stuff, but we used to grind out wins, sometimes not in the most nicest of fashions, I guess. But that winning mentality, we knew that we were capable of going anywhere and getting the result. And then obviously being in League Two, there's some massive, massive clubs. And to get the club back into the Football League, I knew how much it meant to people. I remember Bully's post-match interview down in Torquay, and it was so heartfelt. And I think from that night, I realised actually how much it meant to people. He was almost in tears himself. And then the celebrations, like you say, after that, putting the club back where it should be, was absolutely brilliant. And to see him obviously go down a few years ago was heartbreaking because I felt as though all the sort of hard work had been undone. And I was absolutely gutted for absolutely everyone involved at the football club.
And how do you build that camaraderie that makes it so successful? Because some dressing rooms click and some don't, and you've got to get that balance right, and the management have to get that balance right to make it a footballer. Say what you said earlier on, that you look forward to going through the gates of the training ground there because you know it's going to be a worthwhile day, and you're going to learn and you're going to build and you're going to benefit from it. But so often it can go the other way as well. So it's really important to get the right balance.
Have you heard of chalk and cheese before and Gary and Cooley? That is the recipe. You've got, obviously, Gary was like he's almost like the mother of the group, with the intelligence in terms of how to look after and how to mollycoddle players and stuff like that, and put an arm around them if they need to. Then you've got Cooley, who was the complete opposite. I adore them both in terms of people, in terms of what they both did for me. But Cooley would be able to flip the lid if he needed to. And I think that's where they work so well. I was absolutely gutted that they don't obviously work together no longer. I thought that would be a relationship that went on for years in terms of the success that they did have. But there was such a good balance between the two. And I think that's what it was. They both had great footballing brains. They both had great careers, where I was really, really fortunate, both of them being centre midfielders, that I could learn from both of them. They gave me such good advice in terms of learning the game when I was playing at a young age. And it's like you say, I still speak to them both now quite regularly. And you just don't have that with other managers. I haven't got any of my old managers' numbers in my phone apart from them two. So it just shows the special bond that we did have between not just them and I, but them and the rest of the squad. And if you look at the actual squad itself, I think there was a really good blend of experience and youth. Obviously, Danny Hilton was coming through at the time, the little rat up front. So he used to obviously work so hard, tirelessly, and he's gone on to reap the rewards and had a great career. He's probably gone on to exceed all expectations, even his own, to be playing in the Championship on a regular basis now is just brilliant. And then you look at players like Reece Day, Anthony Charles. They were proper centre-halves, hard to play against. Rob Gear at right back, Dean Smith, you could pick either one of them, you knew you were going to get a performance. Anthony Straker left back, it was obviously the blend of youth again. And then across midfield, your Joels, your Kirks, your Bens, Charms, Granty up top, Johnny Dixon, Rob Elvins. I don't think I've missed anyone. I think that's pretty much everyone. Ricky Newman. But we just had so many characters as well. I think there was more leaders on the pitch in different ways. Some were vocal, some did it by playing football. You can be a leader by demanding the ball at times and being brave to get on the ball in front of the opposition when it might be a bit of a game where, do you know what, we're under the cosh here, we're under the pump. But like you say, we just had a real mix of good characters that bought into what they wanted to do. And it's like you say, and the other thing that we did have, and I keep going back to it, it was a fortress at the Rec. I say not many teams came over to our place, I guess, that year and turned us over. When that East Bank gets rocking and the Tuesday night under the lights, there's no better place to play. You could play in a 30,000 seater stadium with 15,000 in it. I would rather play in front of the Rec, in front of 3,500, when the songs are singing and the drums are banging. It's just a brilliant place to be. Little did I know from that day, I was never going to play another match for Reading because I lied to the manager 24 hours later about why I needed to leave training. I got caught and my career went downhill from then. So he stood up and he started singing, "We're going to sing a song because the fat man's gone." And he started singing it. He said, I can't remember, it goes, "Come on everybody, clap your hands, oh we're looking good. We're going to sing a song because the fat man's gone. We're going to do the twist," and it goes like this.